even the 1990s, the light bulbs that we have today are not the same as the bulbs that we had then. The headlights on cars are completely different. So in all of our efforts to be more energy efficient in terms of all of our lighting, maybe it's helping the planet, but it's hurting us.
Would you like to learn more about the topics that were discussed today? Join us at radicallyhealthy.com, where we're combining lifestyle with other tools to add to our toolbox. We have many offerings, from a free community to a private community and even one-on-one support. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. Today, we have Dr. Kelli Ritter. She is a trainer and educator on quantum, well, people call her the quantum stress doc. She's a former university professor and clinical therapist turned holistic mental health guide. She blends trauma-informed counseling with nutritional therapy and applied quantum biology to help people overcome chronic anxiety and reclaim vitality. It isn't just about managing your systems, it's about restoring your body's innate balance. From circadian rhythm optimization to gut-brain healing, she's shifting the paradigms and inspiring transformation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
After struggling with my weight for 30 years, I finally hit my goal, and I couldn't have done it without joinmochi.com. Their licensed practitioners listened to me, gave me real options, and helped me find what worked for my body. If you're looking for support that's affordable, personalized, and easy to access, this is it. Use the link in the description to save $40 off your first month and get your health journey started today. So when people start saying circadian, the first thing I do is go, oh, I don't have space for that. But I think we're going to talk about so much more than that. We're going to talk about healing. We're going to talk about how your diet is in this. I think one thing I'm seeing with so many people, including myself, is when we're starting to get the body regulated, whether that's on a carnivore diet or whether it's adding a GLP-1 or keto, we start to have space to look at our health in a bigger picture. We have more energy for that. So I'm excited for you to share some of that. I recently just had Dr. Scott Schur on my channel, and he was telling me that so this is where we'll start. He was telling me that he could tell with my energy that I don't live very often in the parasympathetic mode, and that I needed to work on that, turning things off, grounding, earthing, and doing that stuff. So I'm excited to have you here to tell us a little more about that. Because my understanding is if we can't get into parasympathetic mode, we truly are going to struggle to heal.
That's true. And it just, from what I know, what you and I have talked about, that makes sense. So giving yourself a lot of grace, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You are already beautifully designed for both a stress response and a relaxation response, or that sympathetic stress, parasympathetic, the rest and digest. You're already wired for that. It's just that sometimes life circumstances, different traumatic experiences, the way we grew up, it could be a lot of different things, but we can get stuck in that sympathetic state. And what happens with a lot of people now, what I just didn't quite put together. So my background in clinical mental health counseling, I already knew all that. But what I didn't know is that on a cellular, even subcellular level, we can have danger signaling. So you've got cellular danger signaling going on inside of so you can be doing so many things well. You can have your diet dialed in. You can be working on your stress levels. Things in your life could actually have really shifted. Like for you, you're in a totally different place with relationships and everything else. And so many people, I'm not saying this is you, but a lot of people will think, I shouldn't be so stressed and I shouldn't be still having problems. But that could be that your body doesn't have the inputs that it needs to actually be in a parasympathetic state. You've got that danger signaling going on. And what we need is to have the right input so all of that calms down. And then your body needs to be able to go in and out of sympathetic, parasympathetic. It's not like we switch it to one and then half the day you're in the other. It's not like that. It has a nice flow so that we can respond to life and whatever life circumstances are. But we can get into what some of those inputs are, because it's not just about the food.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What are the inputs? So I have been trying to work on my sleep, but according to my watch, which I'm not wearing everybody. I've been taking it off a lot lately. Um, I'm stressed out all night and I can feel the fatigue all day. And so I'm working on how do I get my body to actually rest? I'm laying there, but I'm not getting the rest. So what kinds of things could I add to get my body to relax? Or maybe subtract? What types of things do I have to
I know
subtract?
it's very. I'm always about like what can we add in, but sometimes it is about subtracting. What's really interesting is that most of what's happening at night is really because of what happened in the morning. So early morning is really your best time, and most people that have sleep issues are groggy in the morning. They don't want to do anything but like climb their way to a cup of coffee. And what we really need is to reset your circadian rhythms. So, getting outside in early morning light, really, if you can, around sunrise, that's the best time to set your circadian rhythms. And I know this is a lot for people where when you're in the middle of a space, you're like, oh, and most people think of circadian rhythms, they think of sleep. But circadian rhythms, so we have a master clock in our brain, but then every cell in your body has little clocks. And if those are off, if all of that is off, almost every function in the body will be off. So your hormones, your neurotransmitters, when your body's supposed to be doing what will be off. So people will try to lay there, they have a nighttime routine to get calm, to get in there, maybe they meditate, maybe they try a little yoga nidra, which is specifically for sleep, all of the things that people try to do, but it's really more about your light. So, getting your light environment right, setting yourself up with early morning light to set the day so that your body, that master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your brain is like, oh, okay, I know what time it is. Oh, I know what season Adrian is in. I know what time of day it is. And so all the cells, it's really your mitochondria inside your cells are really good at sensing their environment. But if you're inside with artificial light, and most of us are in controlled environments where we have the air conditioning or the heat on and all the artificial lights and all of our devices and all the things. So our body is just going, I have no idea what time of day it is. I have no idea what season I'm in and what I'm supposed to be doing right now. So that's a longest. So really dialing in on the light is key. And it's not just in the morning, it's also at night. But blocking blue light, which I know you've started doing, but you want to block the blue light at night with orange blue blockers. So a lot of people wear the clear or the yellow, like my kids, and
Love these beauties.
yeah. So
But
the
but we'll talk
orange,
more about why I don't have these on right now in a second.
yes, because the orange you want to do after sunset. And if you're on devices or you're inside with really harsh lighting, LEDs, all of that, then you want to have yeah, the orange. You want to have yellow during the day because you want some of the blue to come in because the blue light is how your body tells time. So a lot of what's happening at night is really because of what happened in the morning and during the day. And one easy thing that I tell people, it sounds easy, but it's not easy. It's simple. We'll put it that way. Is to get some light before do light, food, and then coffee. So I like to get light and hydrate with some minerals in the morning and get the light and then do just a little bit of food. You don't have to have a huge breakfast unless that's your thing. But if you do that for a little while, and I know a lot of people are into fasting and they skip breakfast, but it can confuse your circadian rhythms and your mitochondria. So if you can have a little bit of course, we'd say some protein and fat in the morning. So you get your light and your hydrating with your minerals, then you get a little bit of food, and then you have your coffee. That's a better flow for your body. It's
I have
and
so many questions.
yeah, okay,
Okay, so let's start with I'm going to be the devil's advocate over here. So
great.
I wake up, I'm so tired. I
So
sleep
tired.
with a 3-year-old. If I move, he's awake. I'm so tired that I can barely be alive, let alone deal with my 3-year-old waking up with me at that moment. Is there like a patch or something I could use instead of waking him up?
I know. Is there a biohack that you could do? And I know that people we have to work around our lives. And could we do it 2 days a week? Could you? And it's be really great for him to get up too. But I know you're like, no, I need him to sleep longer so I
so that
can
I
do
can wake up.
yeah, so that I can do that. But I promise you, when you start doing the early morning light in the mornings, could does your husband get up? Will your 3-year-old wake up
No,
if your
my
husband?
husband, well, my husband travels a lot for work, so he's
Yeah.
not there very often. But let's say he's sleeping until 10.
Okay, so he's
So
not
when
gonna
a
help.
3-year-old gets up, it's mom's problem.
I was just thinking, could he crack a door, crack a window, if it's cool enough so that light comes in? I'm just
That was
trying to.
my next question. Can I just look out the window?
So all the modern windows that we have today, they block some of the frequencies of light that we want, and you really want you want the full spectrum that's available, but there's also a lot of red and infrared in the morning, which is anti-inflammatory, and it's also at sunset. But that early morning light, if you can get any way that you can get it, maybe you start in the fall when it's cooler and you leave a window cracked, and that's how you're getting it in the morning. I'm trying to brainstorm, like, how could we do this? Because I know
I'm
how
just trying to
hard
be
it is.
real.
I know, and I appreciate that. And I'm not dogmatic about it, but I promise you, your body will start to crave it. And we're talking about safety signals for your body. So light is information, and that information is something that your body is needing and craving in order to function optimally. So you do what you can do within 30 minutes of getting up, whenever you get up, pop outside. Just
Okay,
get
next
out.
question.
Yeah.
We have had houses for
Yeah.
hundreds of years. How come they didn't have to do this before?
Well, I think they spent a lot more time outside. They did not spend as much time in sunglasses. I think the history of sunglasses was really interesting. They came like aviators were the thing because of pilots. And so sunglasses weren't even, and a lot of people couldn't afford them. Even that's just not something that people would have. We would wear hats and things like that. But I think we were much more in harmony with our natural environment. We ate local seasonal foods. We just didn't have all the artificial lights. Even the 1990s, the light bulbs that we have today are not the same as the bulbs that we had then. The headlights on cars are completely different. So, in all of our efforts to be more energy efficient in terms of all of our lighting, it's maybe it's helping the planet, but it's hurting us. And people will say, oh, but I have the warm lights, the LED warm lights. You still got the wrong lighting. If you've got indoor lighting,
That was my
it,
next question. Can something like this LED light bulb where you can pick your color, can this
yes.
help or not really?
It can. I don't have it here anymore. I have orange and like the amber light bulbs that I do in lamps at night. It's definitely helpful. It's not the same as living in real harmony with our outdoor, with our, with nature and what our natural environment is, but it's certainly going to help. So I think what you want is a light bulb. You want to make sure that your evening light bulbs don't have any blue. And they make no blue light bulbs that you can buy, and they don't have to be red. A few years ago, that was kind of the thing. Everybody in the quantum health space, because their houses are lit up with red light bulbs at night. But now it's almost like it looks like normal light to me when I use my no blue light bulbs. But if I took a picture, like I took a picture of my dog to text it to my husband because he was being really cute upstairs in the bed, and it looks amber in the picture. So you're like, oh, it is probably more amber than it seems, but it's not bothersome. Like the red light bulbs, sometimes people are like, I can't really see, I can't read. Probably because we're not supposed to, but you want something that's more like candlelight. Even that's going to have some of the blue, but that's more of the incandescent bulbs. That is going to be more like sunset. So it'll be at least better.
So if we can get incandescent bulbs,
Yeah.
will those be like what we had in the 90s?
That is what we all had. Fluorescent bulbs came out, like that's what we had horrible in the schools. I guess, and I don't know when they came out, but I was in school in the 70s and 80s, and we got all the fluorescent bulbs. Those are terrible for you. But so we moved to things that we think are better, but it's still not the right natural light. But the incandescent bulb is going to be more like sunset.
I know one thing that I've even thought, and our audience is probably thinking, is like, well, my grandparents, they didn't have to deal with this and they were fine, but they had incandescent light bulbs most of their life. And then unfortunately, now we are seeing our elderly with brain and hormone and metabolic issues.
Yeah.
So they weren't fine.
No, they maybe weren't totally fine, but they did a lot more gardening. We
Mm.
had a lot more farming and gardening. Their hands were in the earth. Um, they it was just a completely different lifestyle. So when we went to more of this, even living in the cities, I think the light bulbs were different, the food was different, and food is information too. And also you're right. I don't think people were that healthy. I mean, they may not have dealt with some of the things we have to deal with, but I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
that
I
they were
think
all that
they went
healthy.
to they
They
went to
weren't.
allopathic medicine and they were told that they were fine, or they were given a pill. And we look at, like, my grandma just passed away and she had a pill container this big for every day.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that they necessarily are fine. I
Mm,
know one more thing for the audience to just know is that I was probably like some of you, where I was like, this just sounds like woo woo ness. And I was like, that is something that I will not be buying into, is that right there. I'm not going to stress out about that. And then I stayed with Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, and she had this light, and
mm,
that's what we had before bed. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. And then we went on a cruise ship. I know I told you this story. And she had extra glasses with her. And we were at the shows, and she was like, here, put these on. And I'm like, wow, those lights are violent. You're right.
yeah.
So to me, I'm pretty sold that there's something going on here, that I feel like I'm going to call it violence to our nervous system. And when I first saw the fluorescent lights, I was like, ooh, I really like this because I can see every nook and cranny in my house and in my closet. I really like that. It's almost addicting, kind of. And when they started using the gas station lights, like we have something called Holiday Gas Station, and they have the LED lights and you can see it from across town, I was like, ooh, that's really cool. And then the noise pollution people came in and they're like, we don't want noise pollution. I was like, oh, you guys are no fun. And now I'm like, oh, look at the noise, the light pollution, not noise pollution, the light pollution. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm starting to see it. I'm with you. There is something here. Another thing that I was thinking about when I was talking to my husband is, I feel like, and maybe you could go into this, I feel like food tastes better if it was cooked outside. And
Uh,
I always thought that maybe it was just me reminiscing of our camping trip, but no, food smells better, it tastes better, you want to eat it more. I feel like when it's cooked outside, whether that's your steak or you're camping and you've got the griddle and you're using eggs or you're cooking over a fire, even better. Do you have any
yeah.
thoughts on that? Or is that just made up in my head?
No, I think I don't. You know what? It's probably a combination of things, but I do think that cooking on fire outside makes a lot of sense. And food does taste better, but it also is probably triggering some happy memories. And everything you're talking about is about nervous system. It's about nourishing the nervous system, and it's about safety signals to the body. And there is really good science, and the science has been there. It's clear. There are, I mean, thousands of papers now, research that clearly demonstrates that the lighting and our circadian rhythms, but our lighting is affecting our health. I mean, it's not woo woo. I had Dr. Martin Moore Eade on my podcast, and he was over the lab at Harvard that found the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain. It just hadn't been found before that. And he was saying, it's just the researchers know, it's in the science, it's very clear, but it's not making its way to where people are talking about it, neighbors are talking about it over the fence. You know, it's not something that's really gotten told enough to people that this is really what's happening. So people, and there's very clear evidence of increased, especially breast cancer, prostate cancer, but people who work in hospitals, airports, places where the lighting is, especially if they work night shifts. So we have a lot of research to back all this stuff up, but it really doesn't take that much. And I did not take it seriously. I was absolutely religious about early morning light. I did sunrise, and I your body really does start to crave that. But you can feel it. It's like it's it's returning you to who you really are. There's even a spiritual kind of feeling to that. But I didn't take the blocking blue light at night very seriously at first. That was something that kind of came later. So I just want to say to people, start wherever you can start and notice what how it feels in your own nervous system, because you will pretty quickly. When people put on my blue blockers, I told you this, I'll go to, occasionally I'm at a concert or something past my bedtime, and I'll have on the blue blockers and people are like, ooh, groovy glasses. And it's not a fashion statement. It's just that the lights are, you know, terrible in those places. And they'll try them on and you can immediately feel it in your nervous system. It is not, it's, it's not, it doesn't take long. Let's just say that. And sometimes people will not understand earthing too. Our skin touching Earth's surface, we actually absorb electrons, the free electrons that are available, and that helps our mitochondria. That's how we make energy. It's how we make water. It's really important. But sometimes people will argue that or go outside and okay, don't do it. But I guarantee that if you do it consistently, you can feel it in your nervous system. It will help send safety signals to your body.
I recently caught, apparently the Ovid K is going back around. I recently caught that, and post beating that, it was really brutal. I was having migraines, and I would go outside and put my feet in the grass, and it would help calm the migraine. It
Yeah.
really, really did.
Yeah, so many people have talked about like literally putting their head down on the earth with a migraine,
I
or
wish I would have thought of that.
it doesn't matter because any part of your body, if your pinky finger is touching, is grounded, your whole body's grounded. So you don't need to worry about that. Whether it's your feet, your hands, wherever, your elbow, it doesn't matter. Hearing more and more people that are using like a grounding mat when they have a migraine, if they can't go outside and they put their head on it. I've had a have a history of migraines. I've tried just about everything, and it definitely makes a big difference. If I have not, I noticed when I would travel and I'm outside and I'm getting my exercise and I'm walking and I'm doing the sunrise, but if I have not physically grounded, I will get a headache. 2 or 3 days, and you think it's because of the travel or because I don't know, you're eating out more, or maybe you're not as hydrated. And all of that could be true. But it's also, I've noticed that if I put some skin on Earth's surface, on grass, dirt, rocks, sand, even if I touch a tree, I'm grounded, which it shouldn't be because wood is not conductive. But when I measure with my little grounding, I can I am grounded when I'm touching a bush or a tree. So as long as
Are
it's
the
in the earth, it can't be planted. My mom is like, I'm gonna put some planters around. I'm like, you're not gonna be grounded. That's gonna be pretty, but that's not gonna be grounding.
is there something to these grounding mats and sheets? My husband bought us grounding sheets. I don't. Does it really work?
Feel any different? So yes, you're grounding, and it's an easy way that unless you're on blood thinners, I think it's good for anybody to try it. But some people are really sensitive, and if they live in a building that's got a lot of electricity, or if they're in the city, sometimes they can say they feel it. They feel like a little more buzzy or staticky. That so there some people are just super sensitive that way, and maybe, but you should be able to test. If you buy the sheets, it comes with a grounding tester for your, because I do have a client that has one outlet that she can use because her house, the
It's still
outlets
too
aren't
strong.
It's not necessarily grounded or whatever, but most people find some benefit to it. I think it's worth trying, but also it's free to go outside.
Yeah, we like
It is.
free.
We like free. We start with what's free. And most people will like, I don't think this is too simple for it to make such a big difference. But I am telling you, I have worked in clinical mental health counseling. I was a professor and all that too. I am telling you, with almost 30 years in the business, really what started moving the needle for my health, for my clients' health, and I thought it was going to be the nutrition, and that really did, but quantum health strategies like shifted people that had been chronically anxious for decades, and it starts to help people. And all we're talking about is light, water, magnetism or earth, and also really thinking about your food in terms of information, not just fuel for the body. It can also be medicine in the body, in my opinion, but it's information. The food that we eat holds light, information code. So it's helpful to think of your food that way.
So I know that you primarily eat a carnivore diet, is that right? But
Most
is there maybe some benefit, sorry to say this for people who think that I might be swearing right now and they should throw holy water at me, but in a circadian and a mitochondrial
Yeah.
view, that there
Mhm.
could be some circadian benefit to eating seasonal plants?
Absolutely. So I just want to say I respect whatever way of eating people have found that works for them. Absolutely do that. So I had been eating a carnivore, like pretty strict. Occasionally I fell off a little bit a couple of times, but for 2.5 years I was strict carnivore. And it was amazing. And then I started learning about the quantum health, and then I got certified in applied quantum biology, and I started thinking, I'm not sure that my body really needs to think it's in winter all year round, especially living in Florida. And so I started experimenting with some locally grown produce. And I have to be really careful because I've also got the food addiction piece. And, you know, I just have to be mindful about that. So I respect that people need to do what works for them. But I started experimenting with locally grown. It's even if I would do like avocados grown in Mexico, it's the same latitude as where I am in Florida. So I can, I was like, well, I'll start with the non sweet fruits. I'll do some olives and avocado and some cucumber and just see how I feel. And when it is in season and it is grown at the same within a few 4 hours of me or in the same latitude, I was like, I think this is really helping my energy and it's helping my mitochondria orient to where I am and what season I'm in. So I'm still sort of playing with it and experimenting because I think a lot of us with carb addiction, it's a slippery slope. And so I might have, I've played around with what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So in season, for instance, like in season zucchini cooked in butter or ghee or some duck fat, I seem to be able to do a little bit of that. And I could do that once or twice a week. And actually, that seems to work really well. If I start adding more and more and more, it's a slippery slope. But it absolutely, eating seasonally is a circadian input. And eating is also important for our mitochondria, and it's really healthy fat. So that's why I think keto carnivores, where we eat a lot of animal sources of fat, that has a lot of electrons that the body can easily use. So I think it's also, not only is it helpful because fat is really helpful for our hormones, for A, D, E, and K, vitamin absorption, all of those things, right? The fat is good. It's good for our brain, ketones, all of that, but it's also full of electrons that are helping your mitochondria.
So we obviously can't be perfect and we can't stress out about this, but this makes me wonder a little bit when I'm getting a cow butchered in the fall and we're freezing it, that cow also had energy and I'm
Yes.
carrying that into the winter. Is that okay?
Yes.
I mean, it's not optimal. It would be better to eat fresh fish, fresh animal as well?
I think it's perfectly fine because the animals have already processed, they eat the grass and they eat the plants for us and have processed that. So, yes, that information and that light information is held in their meat and their organs. So, but they've already processed that for us. So, I think our bodies do really well with that. I think that is why our ancestors would prefer animal sources of food, and throughout the winter it would make sense. And we have been utilizing canning and preserving, and I don't
Smoking,
smoking,
drying.
drying. So I feel like that is as good as we can get in modern life. And I'd rather people be eating a cow than and having a butchered cow that you are then freezing and then you're utilizing all of that meat than eating, some packaged crap. That what is that telling your body? If you're no one and probably no, your audience is already past that, but there are people that aren't understanding. It's not just because it's ultra processed and it's got the seed oils or the sugars or the whatever in it. It also it's made in a factory. Like, what is that telling your cells? How are your cells supposed to figure out what to do with that? It doesn't have any real information in it.
So here's another question though. So I live almost in Canada. I
Yep.
live in the middle of Northern America and it is freaking cold and we have super short days for a very long time. It was 50 degrees last week here. I mean, and so it's very cold. So I'm wondering with our lack of light, and that, in Canada, in Alaska, there can be vitamin D mental health issues.
Yeah.
Is it actually that bad to be supplementing with foods from around the world that could maybe bring some of that up that we are so deficient in the winter?
I think it's a really great question. When I look at it from a science perspective, right? I would say no. Be in harmony with where your feet are currently planted. Be in harmony with the light that is available. Honor the dark. That is really hard to do in modern life with kids and sports and work and all the things that you have to do to really honor the dark and honor the cold and what food would be available. But I think it's amazing that we live in a time where we could utilize some mushrooms from far away from us or something that would help us with our mental health, our physical health. And so, I'm really interested in microdosing of these things that might actually help connect us. And I don't know, I think it also matters what your heritage is. Like, there are people
Mm.
who seem to be able to add some things to their diet, even if it doesn't make sense from a mitochondria and circadian rhythms, but maybe it's ancestrally. Maybe it's something that their soul just really needs right now. And who am I to say, oh, you shouldn't do that because that is not good for, you should always eat where your feet are planted. And I I just don't think that's life. I don't think that that's a kind way to move through life, and I think that's closed-minded to think that everybody has to do it one way. But I do think that eating more local stuff and being in harmony with what is actually in your environment makes a lot of sense to me. And the more we embrace that, the more I see mental health improve. So, people who have had years of seasonal affective disorder, that is real. That is not like a made up thing. That's a real seasonal affective disorder is real for people, but it's mostly people who are indoors avoiding nature, especially in winter. And they're like, well, I can't get vitamin D, so I don't go out. You still need the light frequencies from outside. Bundle up, do whatever you have to do to get out there. And our circadian rhythms are what help us adapt, and not just adapt to the weather and the temperature. And I think that's what's helping us adapt behaviorally, mentally, to become more resilient. That's certainly been the case for me. I have become much more stress resilient since I adopted all of these practices. And I think it's unrealistic to say that we're going to be perfect all the time. You just do what you can do. And, if something is calling to you, I don't care if that's a food, a supplement, a practice, a behavior, or whatever. If it's calling to you, try that out. I
Mhm.
mean, I think it's all about trial and error.
So how I started, I guess the first step I didn't even realize I knew was when they said, "Hey, those sunglasses aren't so great for you, girlfriend. Get rid of them puppies." And I was like, "But I have blue eyes, so
Oh,
I have to wear sunglasses."
uh-huh.
But I took them away. And the next thing was they said, "Stop running and start walking." And so on my walks, even 70 pounds heavier than I am now, I walked in my sports bra and I let the sun hit my stomach. And it felt so good. Are there certain body parts that absorb sun better?
It's not even better. It's just that there are a lot of body parts that haven't seen the light of day in so long. We used to, walk around naked. And every part of our body really does need to be in contact if we can with some light. But that's why I also am like, you got to be realistic, but your belly. So there's some really interesting science about red light, in particular infrared light, which is the light next to red that we can't see, that it goes much deeper than the red, and that appears to diversify the gut microbiome.
Oh, and I do have some gut that needs healing.
Yeah, so the more we can expose the belly, and it doesn't just have to be on the belly, it's in the eyes and on the skin. We have sensors in our eyes and on our skin. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be out there. We're doing this responsibly. We don't want to burn. We don't, everybody starts getting upset. And it's really funny when you tell people, maybe you could just take the sunglasses off for a minute or two, and people are very attached to their sunglasses
And their sunscreen.
and their sunscreen. And so I want to just tell people early morning, sunrise and sunset, there's no UVB. So you're not going to get burned. There's no UVA either. And the UVA and the UVB is really important light for us. So we want to get some of that. You want the light all throughout the day is important, but that early morning light, you're not going to burn. So that's okay. And you don't have to have a direct view of sunrise and sunset to get the benefits. So just being in the shade, you're still getting the light frequencies. So it's not about the intensity. There is some interesting research about like the intensity, brightness. It doesn't necessarily have to have UVB, but the brighter light outside is very helpful for mental health.
Ah,
Um,
that's why we're
there,
so depressed here. We have clouds almost every
and
day. Just like is it Washington and Oregon is pretty cloudy? We're pretty cloudy.
And that's okay because the light frequencies come through the clouds. You just have to stay out there a little longer. And I think
There's a
people don't
reason
want
we
to be
love
out there.
Florida and Arizona. There's a reason we feel so good there, which I'm going to go with it was 5 years ago. My husband was working in West Texas, which is the desert, and I felt so good there. And I honestly thought it was because I was escaping Minnesota, but I didn't realize. Now I realize it's because it's sunny 360 days a year there, and you just get that sun and it's that dry heat and it just feels so good. So when my big kids turn 18, I'm headed someplace sunny.
I think a lot of people, but I do want people to hear that you can do it doesn't matter if it's snowy and cloudy and rainy. The light frequencies are available, and it really is about matching the season that you're in. As and you don't have to eat produce, but if you're going to eat produce, make that local. If you can, make that local and see how that works for you.
I'm glad you circled back to the produce because you're reminding me about how we want to eat animals who have been raised outside
Oh god,
and
yeah,
eggs,
please,
right?
please. If you
Because
I'd
they have
rather people eat an
significantly
egg.
higher levels of vitamin D.
Yeah. Well, and just better quality, better, and just the way that the animals are treated. I would rather somebody eat animal sources than not. So whatever they can afford, and however, I think that's, but if you can, it really does matter how the animal lived.
I do think
Mhm.
it's interesting when you first go outside and, they say build a base. And I find it interesting that when I coupled eating lots of meat with getting more sun, that I stopped burning. That's a hormone thing? Or what's going, how come we stop burning? It's not that we actually built a base. It's that our hormone signaling got with the picture, or
It probably does have to do with hormone signaling. You're also, I think you're also priming the body with lots of good cholesterol, and then it naturally wants to use vitamin D from the sun to make, it wants to use light from the sun to make the vitamin D. And I think with melanin, there are a lot of things that could be going on hormonally, but also with getting rid of the seed oils and the sugars and the carbohydrates. We see it. So many people talk about they don't burn anymore. I think there are people who are like, I still burn. So you want to be careful.
I still
You
have
know,
allergies.
we
It
all,
doesn't fix everything
I
for
still have a little
everybody.
bit of dry skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but it's also amazing to me that the body, I believe that what's happening is the body is just much more efficient, able to absorb the nutrients, to utilize what you're giving it, and the information is consistent with what it knows, how it knows what to do. Um, as opposed to like packaged, processed, even just a lot of carbohydrates. For some of us, we have like that sticky, it's just does not work in our brains to have a lot of carbohydrates. And maybe there's some healing and that can shift for people. I'm cool with that. When like people that are microdosing the GLP-1s and there's more signaling is appropriate, I'm okay with, I want people to experiment, but I want people to do that safely, because there is in no world do I think that processed crap is good for your brain ever.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's not the goal, but the goal is to have a lot of freedom and to feel good, and optimal health and optimal brain function requires, we need sunlight as a nutrient. It's as important as your food. So I think sometimes people are just missing that.
So you're going to become the famous person of saying you need some vitamin S. What
Sun.
what I think is somewhat happening is our guts are pretty messed up, and the gut is messed up, but then the hormones are also really off, so the circadian health can really play a role in helping harmonize the hormones. And then what's happening is, I believe that insulin resistance is rampant. I'm going to call it insulin resistance, but what it is like an inappropriate hormone response to your fuel, and then the signaling isn't getting to your brain, like the whole system's kind of clunked up. And then
Yep.
that's where we're getting this addictive food. Because I'm telling you, 30 years ago, people weren't struggling with carb addiction, but now we are. There's
Mhm.
there's a clunk in the system. And I think low dosing, microdosing GLP-1 helps open up the system. But everybody wants to know too, though, what are the other things we can do to get the system harmonious again? And I think that some of the things you're sharing with us can be tools in our toolbox. Like I think our toolbox should be loaded so we can
I
just feel our
agree.
very best.
I've always been a big load the toolbox person, and what can I add in? What can I add in? But like we started, sometimes it's a taking things out and moving. I never really thought, oh, I should move more into nature and do what's free by putting my skin on the earth's surface. Like that just was not a part of, I feel like nature's important. I think I like going on vacation and being in nature, but I was never really, I did not understand how important it is for us. It's not just about vacation, like nature is home. We are nature, and we've become so denatured away from ourselves that, to me, these simple practices just bring us back to who we are. And eating real food is a great place to start, but it's not the only piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. And so I started with remove the sunglasses, remove the sunscreen, get out in the sun. And then I think that was pretty much it for a while. And then Dr. Lisa introduced the light and the glasses, and my yellows are on order. I really like these. I think they're Soleil Well. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, a Soleil is Kelly Bento. That's my friend
Yes.
Kelly.
I
She has,
love these. They're clear, they're crystal clear. I can,
yeah,
even with the dark red, I can see really, really well. So I'm excited for my yellow and orange to come in. Now, these are a fashion statement. These are not. These are not a fashion statement. These are like, what is up with that lady? There's something wrong with her. Does she?
yeah, but we no longer care when we feel really good and our,
Yeah.
our body is optimized. We're like, so we can be the weird lady in the glasses and the hoodie at the kids' basketball game. It's like these lights are terrible, and I'm gonna like hide from them. But yeah, those are good places to start. I always tell people start with what's free, which is basically go outside. And then biohacking. I have a free biohacking. It's like I put it in a little course just because every single week people are asking me like, what products do you use? What and sometimes I have a discount code, which I'm happy to pass on, but sometimes I just put what I actually really use. I never, I don't promote anything that I don't use. And I love Kelly Bento's. Her red light therapy devices are really the best. So
Because she's actually testing them.
she actually tests them, and she's really adamant about having great products. So
Okay. So first I'll share, these are her glasses. This isn't like a discount code thing. This is just, these are so cute. They're so crystal clear. I absolutely love them. And then I have your website here. Let me see if I, for some reason it wasn't showing on my list here of being able to show, because what kind of courses do you have?
yeah,
Oh, there
so
it is.
you got it.
Yep.
Yeah, anxietyrecovery.com.
And you have a podcast that's pretty wonderful.
I
Oh, here's the
do.
courses: anxiety, light,
Mm-hmm.
quantum, food, mood.
Food.
Ooh, one thing I wanted to get into is something that feels absolutely amazing to me is the sauna. I've had these hormone issues. I've had autoimmune, which is another reason why we want to move south, because autoimmune people, which I need to be careful with how I talk to myself. I heard you say the words, our body can hear our words.
Mhm.
But some bodies like more sunlight and more dry heat. But I love a sauna. And I was trying to discuss with my husband because he's like, well, electric saunas, they take forever to heat up. And then, wood, those are harder to come by these days. But I was telling him, if we get a red light sauna, will that count as red light therapy?
I know. So
Yeah.
yes and no. So there's some newer research that says that we should do the heat and the sauna separately from the red light. I love a sauna too. And I think if your body feels really good in West Texas in the desert, that's probably, I mean, who knows if that's like an
I'm
ancestral thing,
Finnish.
a
It makes
soul
no historical sense.
wins, but it doesn't have to, because if your soul is calling for something, I say you listen to that. But I do like and it does take a long time for some of them to heat up. I'm a big fan of the sauna. I have seen people utilize that and like cold exposure, and it doesn't have to be crazy cold plunging. It can just be some cold exposure, not back to back. You want to have some minutes in between. Don't go straight from your sauna to the cold plunge or vice versa. You want the benefits of both of those things to like have time to really work on your nervous system before you go do the other one. But a sauna with the red light in it, I mean, I'm all about efficiency and like multitasking. That feels very multitasky to me, and it feels really good to me. And I am such a huge fan of red light therapy. It has completely changed my life. I did not think I needed it. I bought it for my son. He wasn't using it. It has helped my eyesight. I have 54-year-old eyes that are like still good. I
So
mean,
you don't wear goggles, you just let it into the eyes?
I do. I never
Mhm.
wore the goggles. I used to keep my eyes closed all the time. Now I will open them, close them. Depends. I don't want to be too close with my eyes open, but there's really good research on eye health and red light therapy. So I started using it for that. And I'm telling you, I would wake up with the most clarity I've ever had once I started using that. And now I didn't sit in front of it before this interview, but I almost always sit in front of it before an interview because I swear it makes me smarter because it's reducing the inflammation. So
Oh, I wanted to buy one of her panels. You're making me want to buy one of her panels because she
I
said
love her
she
panels.
messaged me quietly that it could potentially help two of my sons who struggle with autism symptoms, let's call it.
Sure. Yeah,
And so,
features. We have a few features that yeah. So red light can be, I just think the world of it. And I have other panels from another company and they worked fine, but hers, there's something really good about hers. And when we were at something recently, Kelly and I stayed together and I got the torch because I've been wanting her torch.
I was wondering about what this torch thing is. Is it
Mhm.
literally fire or is it the thing you stick in your nose?
No, it's just a light, and you can put it like it has an adapter that you can use on your face, it has the little thing that you can put in your ears or up your nose or in your mouth or whatever you're trying to heal something. So I wanted one of those because I just thought it was super cool. And I did not want, she has like a small pad. And I was like, I don't think I need the pad because I have the panel. I am I am so attached to that little pad now. I use it at night on my belly. I put it on infrared only when I'm like crawling into bed just before, like it's usually around sunset when I try to use it because I like to use red light when it's actually available outside, which is during the day. But I have so many clients that love the red light at night for sleep. So I'm like, do it.
Really? She had mentioned to do it in the morning because I was like, can I just turn it on right before I go to bed? And she told me it would mess with my circadian health.
It is, but it's also so anti inflammatory that I think it's sometimes very helpful. But if you put it on the infrared only, so it's not the red bright, but it's the infrared, which is heat, that seems to be very healing for people to help with sleep. Just clinically speaking, that is what I have seen anecdotally, but still.
Amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think I did see one where you mentioned you interviewed someone about patches because they lived in Canada.
I
Are
do love the
there What is this patch thing?
So it's light technology, which I was like, well, why would I want to put technology on me? But it actually, there's nothing that goes in the skin transdermally. So a lot of people like it to try it because there's no shots, there's no, there's no goopy, it's nothing. You put the patches on and you get a 30-day pack and you put a different patch on every day and it lasts for about 12 hours. You want to stay really hydrated and my mom always leaves it on, like I'll find them on her the next day. I'm like, "Mom, you're supposed to take it off." So it's not going to kill you if you don't, but you want to make sure you're staying really hydrated and you want to give your body a break. But different the patches do different things, but they really use, what they're doing is using the light inside of our mitochondria to target different healing pathways inside of us. So it's
Where,
really fascinating.
where do you get these?
I don't love the way they're sold, but because I love the patches so much and they've been so helpful to me and my energy, that I sell them on my website, but it's kind of like the Tupperware thing. Like you can only
I
get them
love
from people
Tupperware.
who, I know, but you can only get them from back in the day in the 70s when you could only get it through somebody like a lady would have the supplier or whatever. That's the way, it's that whole like you have to get it from
Okay,
uh
but they could check it out on your website.
yes, it's in the shop.
And this is good. Like she was talking about how she lives in Canada.
Yeah.
And so it was just something she was using in the winter.
She uses them all the time. Rachel's coming to visit me next week, and she is. she's actually a anesthesiologist that left the hospital and got into quantum health stuff, and she's really incredible. But she's the one, yes, that got me into the patches, and she wears the patches all the time now. And I have like the patches. There's a great one, Eon, Aeon, that's really great for anxiety. A lot of my clients
Mhm.
swear by that. They put it on every night and they feel like it's just very helpful for their stress. There is a sleep. There's one called Silent Nights that's good for sleep. So I have them almost like you would have a first aid kit. So if I have glutathione patches, I have, some of the other patches. And there is the X39 and the X49, which we won't go into, but those are the main two. And I always start people on the X39 and try that one first. That's the one that actually supports your stem cell production.
Now, I wish I would have started this in the very beginning, but top 3 reasons people should just add one little circadian or grounding piece to their life.
Top 3 reasons.
That they should just make one change today. Just add one thing. Maybe you turn the lights down at night and you just swap that light bulb out next to your bed. You can get incandescent light bulbs, or you could get like pretty cheap these LEDs that you get to pick the color right next to your bed. That one change. Make one change. What are the top 3 reasons why making one change at a time might change their life or make their
So
life better?
I would say for inflammation, to reduce inflammation and to make it easier for you to respond to life on life's terms. So, whatever's happening in your daily life, it just makes things easier. And we all have stuff that comes at us out of the blue, something, you know, you never know what might happen. I feel like I'm able to handle that so much better. So, it's reducing the inflammation, but most people will say because of pain. It's like if you have some weird little achy something, it will help with pain. And of course, I would say because it's going to help your mental health. It's going to help your mood. But
Mm.
sometimes people are like, "Oh, my mood is fine," but they have a hip pain or a knee pain or something that's really bothering them, headaches or something. Pain
So
is very motivating.
if you could pick the top thing that someone should start with,
Yeah.
maybe let's go with top 2 things. What is the top 2 things that you think would make the biggest difference if they just started with these 2 things?
Get out in the morning within 30 minutes of waking, get outside, open a window, get yourself some natural light exposure for at least, if you can do 10 minutes, but if you can only do a minute or two, do that. And block blue light, artificial blue light at night after sunset. Those are like my top two things that I would do.
Okay. I hate that I didn't ask this earlier, but when people are headed to go get these blue blockers, I made the mistake of buying some blue blockers that were $5, and they came and they were perfectly clear. And I was like, oh, perfect.
I can
Do
see.
those
Yeah.
work? Do we need to be picky about the lenses, or is that blocking anything at all? Is there such a thing as a clear lens blocking blue light?
Those usually do not. Um, those are usually doing nothing. Yeah, so quality does matter, but you don't have to get the most expensive ones. Like Midwest Red Light Therapy has great glasses that I have sat on those things and they are fine. Because the more expensive ones, you're just a little more, they can break and you don't want to break them. So, yeah, the quality does matter, but also people need to know that a lot of people are wearing the orange during the day, and that is, you don't want to wear orange during the day because that's blocking more of the blue light and then your body's confused.
That's why I'm not
So
wearing them right now, because I don't have yellow yet.
yeah. And I don't even like I usually open the window as it's too hot in Florida right now, but for a lot of the year, I can keep a window open while I'm working so that there's natural light blending and I'm try to just limit my time on screens in general. But if you're on a screen or indoors, that's when I would wear the yellow during the day, but I don't worry about daytime too much because I'm out there, I'm outside a lot. I pop outside for light breaks. Just like people used to do smoke breaks, take a light break and
I
pop
love
outside.
it.
Yeah.
I
So
love it. Instead of the smoke
that's
break,
really
take a light break.
yeah. And if you're going to red, we wear red before bed. So right before bed, about 30 minutes or 45, an hour before bed, because that will block even more of the blue light. And melatonin, which is more than just a sleep, it's not just the sleep hormone. It regulates a lot of things. It helps your body know how to use carbohydrates and protein and fats. So all of that can be really helpful. But melatonin is a darkness hormone. So it is made during the day from light. We also make it, serotonin is repurposed into melatonin. So if you don't have enough serotonin, you're not going to be able to make the melatonin, but it's made in the day but released in darkness. So if you are never in darkness, you're never actually fully getting the release of the melatonin.
Oh, that's so interesting. There's the one thing about my sleep that's good is I can fall asleep, and I feel like, yes, there's something good happening here.
Yeah.
Staying asleep, getting quality sleep. We're working on that. That's what's great about, for me, this GLP-1 thing is finally not struggling with chronic weight gain and be able to look at like, ooh, my sleep has been really bad for a long time. We got to work on that. And
Mhm.
how do I reset my nervous system? How do I actually calm down? Where before I just didn't have capacity for that. It was every day. If I wasn't on the weight, it was being chronically gained. So I'm so grateful for you for coming on here. Where can people find you?
So I like to interact on Instagram, not Facebook so much, but Instagram. And it's just at Dr. _Kelli with an I. And then the website is the best place, the anxiety-recovery.com that you showed. I would start with the free stuff and then work your way. If you're really struggling with anxiety, I have toolkit. I have other things that people can, yeah,
You've got your
consult.
podcast
And
and so much more. Well, gosh. And then you also are an attendee and a speaker at my favorite conference, Meet Stock. Will you be back next year?
I will be back.
Amazing.
I'm on the huge list of speakers. So yeah, I think it'll be a really fun year. And I love Meat Stock. And people need to listen to the podcast because you're coming up on my podcast. So they can check
Yes.
that out. And yes, I will be at Meat Stock.
I've been binging your podcast for a couple of weeks.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a good one. It's different stuff. It's a lot of it's so important that we understand you can't just tell your mitochondria, okay, start doing it. Stop being fatigued and dysfunctional. Like we're gonna have to take a breath and put our feet in the ground and see the sun and put the device away and stop exposing ourselves to things we didn't even realize we were exposing ourselves to. And yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. Everybody,
Thank
if you
you.
guys like this content, please like, subscribe, and share.
Mhm.
Goodbye.